What's Sydney Sweeney doing to her career? Being one of the most prominent parts of Euphoria, Sweeney gained attention for portraying Cassie Howard, a teen girl who is primarily accepted for her undeniable beauty, while at the same time being imprisoned by the expectations set by that beauty, which leads her to make questionable choices that put her in difficult situations with her friends and family. It's kind of interesting that this description can now be applied not only to her character in Euphoria, but also to Sweeney herself. She has recently gained quite a lot of attention mainly due to her professional decisions outside of acting. And let's be honest, 1 or 2 endorsements from a celebrity never hurt anyone. In fact, they can be quite lucrative and helpful to actors in a world where streaming services have made it much more difficult for them to earn a decent income. One that, unfortunately, is not as substantial as the exposure they get from bringing their characters to life. However, in Sydney Sweeney's case, it seems to be doing the opposite. The image she cultivated as part of one of the most famous teen shows in recent years has catapulted her, and some of her co-stars into stardom. And at the moment, she's at a pivotal point that can make or break a career. This makes her recent career decisions all the more puzzling. One of the most notorious ones is the Dr. Squatch ad where she plays a genie that comes out of a bottle of body wash. In my opinion, it was quirky and a bit surreal, but nothing too damaging to her brand. But still, I'd be lying if my first impression of this ad wasn't, man, the rent must be really high. The second one, also from Dr. Squash, features Sydney Sweeney in a tub referring to her audience as quote-unquote dirty little boys, while endorsing not only the same body wash as the first ad, but also a soap bar supposedly made with her bath water. To top it all off, the soap bar has a hole in it, of a certain size and clearly meant for certain beats, if you know what I mean, which isn't just suggestive but flat out crass. And the third one is her most recent collaboration with American Eagle, featuring the tagline "Sydney Sweeney has good genes," which is currently causing a stir online due to its double entendre. While not overly explicit or crass in tone, it's a bit suggestive, showing her in full denim, speaking in a soft, raspy voice that once again emphasizes her beauty as the main selling point. Sydney Sweeney is well known at this point. She's done the opposite of what Alexa Demie has done. Instead of fitting the allure of privacy, she decided to be everywhere. She's appeared in the ads I've mentioned, plus a few more. She's played a sexy babe in a Rolling Stones video, starred in 2024 rom-com Anyone But You, and made sure to keep herself visible in many different ways. And to be honest, if I had that face, body, and those opportunities, I wouldn't hesitate to use the connection she has and the attention she's getting. But it's kind of confusing to understand her brand and the angle she's going for. Because on one side, we have Sydney Sweeney Body Wash Genie, who's selling us a bar of soap with a hole in it. And on the other hand, we have an actress doing the full de-glam process to become the boxer Christy Martin on the upcoming biopic Christy. Seeing these examples of her appearances in media, I can't help but wonder, is Sydney Sweeney team aware of the repercussions this sort of attention may have on her career? Or is it a well-calculated move to gain both traction and a bit of cash in the process? My question is not about whether she wants to be sexy or be taken seriously. Come on, in an ideal world, you shouldn't have to choose between the two because you can be unapologetically both without shame. My question is mainly, how did these two actions connect coherently with a direction in her career? Because on one side, she's using her image to help sell a mid-scale product that benefits more from her attention than she does from theirs. And on the other hand, she's taking the road that has defined the careers of many actresses who were on the verge of being typecast, giving audiences a chance to see how talented they truly are. Two famous examples of these are Charlize Theron in Monster and Margot Robbie in I, Tonya. These two built long and accomplished careers through the effort it took to work on these roles. Roles focused on difficult, complex characters that were brought to life with depth and detail through the performances of the actresses involved. Theron, for example, has received numerous nominations, including an Oscar win for her portrayal of Aileen Wuornos, which is often cited as one of the best performances in cinema history, making her a household name and a respected figure in the industry. Margot Robbie is a more comparable example to Sydney Sweeney. Robbie started as a lower-profile actress working in various TV shows in her home country and the US, until Martin Scorsese picked her to play Naomi LaPaglia, an absolute bombshell and Jordan Belfort's second wife, in his 2013 movie The Wolf of Wall Street. And although the role was significant, after the movie, Robbie was still at risk of being typecast as a hot blonde with a sexy voice. Their narrative changed when she took on the role of Tonya Harding in I, Tonya, which she also produced. Like Theron, Robbie had to tone down her looks to portray a layered, conflicted character, allowing audiences to see her acting range without being distracted by her beauty. And that effort paid off. Not only was Robbie nominated for multiple awards, but the role helped shape the trajectory of her career. It eventually led her to become the star and producer of one of the 2023's biggest hits, Barbie. Through consistent effort and small decision-making, both actresses have built images that not only make them the most recognizable of their generation, but also allow them to pursue brand endorsements that enhance rather than cheapen their public persona. Charlize Theron, famously the face of Dior's J'adore, and Margot Robbie has fronted campaigns for Chanel and Calvin Klein. And while it's technically a film, Barbie itself can be considered a massive brand-defining endorsement too. The thing is, I believe that if Sydney Sweeney had waited a bit longer, let her career gain more traction, she might have landed a more upscale endorsement, like for example Lancome, Giorgio Armani, or even Chanel to name a few. The real question is, if these high-end opportunities ever do come along for her, will her earlier association with Dr. Squash cheapen her image? Will it make her seem not good enough for luxury endorsements? And look, I'm not a marketing specialist or anything, but as a consumer, what she's doing to her brand doesn't seem consistent or strategic. In fact, I know a lot of people would agree with me when I say these moves seem desperate and money-hungry rather than calculated and intelligent, especially when they overemphasize Sydney's physical attributes just to make a quick buck at her expense. And if you want a quick buck, that's okay. But if it's affecting your career, is that effort really worth it? Is your lucrative and silly recent endorsement going to limit the possibilities you may have in the future for a more respectable and craft-centered career? Because in my opinion, her endorsements resemble less the fellow actresses I've mentioned previously and more a fellow blonde bombshell from the 1950s and 60s, and that is Mrs. Jane Mansfield. Jane Mansfield, like Sydney Sweeney, was a very prominent bombshell well known for her public stunts and her curvaceous body. In an era where Marilyn Monroe was all the rage, she was seen as a double, to the point of being called quote-unquote the poor man's Marilyn. She gained a lot of attention thanks to her looks and stunts, and with that attention she also made a lot of money, reportedly earning $200,000 for appearance in Las Vegas. You could say she was making good money and banking on her asset and the attention she received from them and her resemblance to Marilyn. But when the quote-unquote dumb bodacious blonde became a thing of the past and people got tired of her scandalous appearances, all that attention disappeared, along with the juicy offers she used to get. From that point on, Jane had to lower her expectations and her pay, wanting to be called upon and accepting worse conditions, lower pay, and more degrading requests over time. She began as an up-and-coming promising movie star and ended her days making appearances at supermarket openings and drugstore promotions. And sure, money was never a problem, but at what cost? And here's where I ask again, are the people on Sydney Sweeney's team smart enough to turn all this negative attention into something positive by promoting her upcoming movie by proxy? Or are they just greedy enough to grab their bucks and let the career of an up-and-coming actress collapse at their own expense? Because you can say what you want, but Sydney Sweeney does have talent. She's capable of building a career that doesn't rely solely on her physical asset to succeed. That said, her over-reliance on her beauty, although not inherently wrong, is taking away the opportunity for people to see her as something more than just that. It's dumbing down a career that could be so much more. And honestly, these images already seem to be taking a toll. Not only on her public image, but on her whole identity. Because when I see her ads, there seems to be a lack of allure and aura that could add to her appeal. And it automatically makes me think of that scene in the movie The Princess Swan.
You're beautiful.
Thank you. But what else?
What else is there?
So Sydney Sweeney is at a crossroads right now, and her most recent decisions seem to be steering her in a particular direction. From this point on, only time will tell whether she rises out of the sexy gel like Margot Robbie or gets trapped in it like Jane Mansfield did. I would also like to hear your opinion. Do you think she's gonna bounce back with an impressive move, or is she going to stay in this lane? And that's it. Once again, thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, like, comment, and share. Bye bye!